there just to clear the air about the whole transmission of results that seemed to be a major problem for Kenya on the August of 8th. Joining me in studio now is Hannington Mbaya, who's a systems analyst at Mambo Software. Thank you very much for joining us here on a KTN Newsdesk. Currently, what we are looking at is Saffron asking for an extension of time to reconfigure, so to speak, the KIEMS kits. And we see NASA saying that, no, we cannot use this KIEMS kits because already we have questions on how they conducted themselves in the August 8th poll. Saffron, of course, has given their report on this whole election. I believe you have gone through their report. Quickly take us through what arguments Saffron is giving us as to why this particular election was bungled, and from your own assessment, what do you think?
Okay, thank you, Akisa. I think I wanted to start first by just highlighting some of the key issues that came out of that report. And we understand this is an audit that was carried out by Saffron themselves.
Yes.
So I think first off, it's not usual for someone to do an audit of themselves. Actually, that makes that audit report questionable. But we can still look at it to get some pointers in it. And I have about 4 main points that I'd like to point out to the viewers so people can understand this report better. So the main issue that is in discussion is whether the IEBC system was hacked or not. And I think that's what they're trying to categorically say, that according to their audit, there's no evidence. Actually, they're saying the claim is untrue.
Yes.
Now, we need to actually understand what hacking is so that we can appreciate this. So hacking, by definition, is where you gain access, unauthorized access into a computer system to do, you can do various different things. You can either change the information in the system or delete it or just view. But the important thing there is that you are getting unauthorized access. Now, from the Supreme Court reports that we saw, there were indications that there were several logins into the server by passwords, which are either held by employees of the IEBC or authorized people to do that. So when people have passwords and they are given permission to enter a system, that cannot be classified as hacking. So the point here they're trying to divert attention from whether the system was hacked or not is actually they're saying whoever logged into this system or whoever made changes to this system had the authority to do it. Therefore, it was not hacking. But the system was accessed to make various changes.
Yes.
Now, having understood what hacking is and why they made that claim, let's now look at the 4 pointers that I picked out of that report. So they said that they made an in-depth audit of the systems and claimed that the hacking claim was untrue. Now, as the owners of the system, their term or description of in-depth audit is actually questionable. Because like I've said, a proper audit is supposed to be conducted by an external party. And there are procedures, actually, even when the audit is being done, there's usually what is called the terms of reference. What is it that we expect at the end of this audit? So that was not put to the Kenyans, and so we do not know what they were auditing. In fact, I think the big question they might have been running away from is, was this system transmitting and giving out the results as per the voting recorded in the polling stations? So they have run away from that, which I think is a big thing that we need to be discussing. Now, they say, the second point there, they say that according to them, the system has shown that in no way it suffered manipulation of data, attacks, attempts to penetrate the system, or anything of that kind. Which is a loaded word just to say, again, the system was not hacked. But we have agreed if these passwords were of the employees of IEBC, and this, the people who accessed the system had the authority to access the system, then it was not hacking.
It was not hacking.
But they got into the system all the same. Yes. So that's actually just a loaded statement to try and divert attention from what we should be addressing. And I think we also are aware that there are claims that have been made that Probably, actually, KIEMS never transmitted results to the IBC servers. So again, if these results were never submitted or transmitted from the KIEMS to the IB servers...
What results were there?
Actually, then there's nothing to manipulate at
and
the
among
center.
some of the things, some of the accusations that NASA leader Raila Odinga has is that more than 10,000 KIEMS kits did not transmit the right information.
Exactly. So either some of the KIEMS kits did not transmit the results, or all of them did not transmit. Now, if the ones, let's assume about 30,000 of them transmitted the results. So we are talking here of 10,000 which did not transmit. Now, if the 30,000 that transmitted portrayed the results that either IBC or Jubilee was happy with, then they did not need the other 10,000. In that case, they did not need to manipulate the 30,000 that was recorded.
I want us to just gain pace with this conversation, because now Raila Odinga says we're not going to an election with the KIEMS kits from Saffron. Is there a way that they can be reconfigured to begin with a clean slate? Or what are we looking at? Just explain to us what we're looking at now.
Thank you for that question. These are some of the things I also wanted to help the common viewer understand, because sometimes we talk of these things and some people assume everybody understands them. So when you talk of the KIEMS kit, it's actually a set of gadgets and software that are put together to manage voting and transmission of the results. Now, what in the general public is considered as the KIEMS kit is what was supposed to be used to take a photo of the Form 34A and transmit a copy of that form to the IBC servers. Now, that is simply any gadget like your phone, your ordinary phone, or even a tablet. And in this case, it was supposed to be a tablet. So it is configured or set in a way that when you take a photo of that form and transmit it with that result, you will not be able to transmit any other result from it. Now, when we talk of whether this KIEMS kit can be reconfigured, what basically we are saying is, can it be set in such a way that it will be able to do the three things that it was supposed to do, the three key things, which is one, can it take a photo of the Form 34As from the polling stations? Secondly, can it remit that in a secure manner? And thirdly, can it send that and also remit which GPS location that result has been transmitted from? Setting that is, to IT experts, that is not rocket science, so to say. That should be a very simple thing to do. And how that is going to take so much time that the elections have to be pushed forward for that to be done is beyond my understanding.
So the worry that these KIEMS kits could be used again to bungle this election that NASA leader has, does he have any reasonable doubt to worry that the KIEMS kits that were used in August 8th would do the same thing with this coming election?
Yeah, I think the worry here should be about Saffron or the company hired to do it.
Yes.
If NASA does not have confidence in that company, and it has been shown at different fora also that this company actually has been engaged in other malpractices in other countries. So that casts a doubt on whether these are the people we want to trust with our elections. So on that front, I think we should be worrying more about the company rather than the equipment.
Rather than the equipment.
The equipment is handled and set by normal human beings. So it's not something.
IT, the technological part of this electoral process, seems to have been the break, so to speak. It was the make or break for this election. And from that ruling, it was the break. What did we get wrong? And how do we right it with just less than 30 days to go to the election?
Actually, before I answer that, let me say something that IBC is doing a serious damage to the ICT sector in this country and probably the entire Africa. Because basically what they are trying to, what has been demonstrated is that ICT systems cannot be trusted. And in fact, for those of us in the software industry, when we now go out to try and sell our applications, people kind of start to think, are these the kind of applications that get hacked? And that question now is in everyone's mind, and people kind of get confused, whether are you really selling a solution or a problem to them. Now, having said that, the ICT systems that were being used in these elections were actually the make and break, and they were for from different, you can look at it from different angles, and you can see it actually helped us to get where we have gotten into, which is not a bad thing. One, the ICT systems have been used to demonstrate or rather show that the results that were projected or shown were actually not the valid or the true reflection of the exam or of the results. And actually, we can pick that from Mr. Chebukati's statement, which he made just around the time the results were being transmitted. And he said, whatever you are seeing on your screens, those are provisional results. They are actually statistics. They are not the actual results of the voting. Now, that to me was like, maybe he actually knew that the KIEMS kits were not being used to remit the results, which is why he made that statement. And I think that's what's now coming out at the end of this, that probably the KIEMS kits were not being used to remit the results. Now, that may make the IT systems used in this system to look bad. But then again, we are saying the IT systems that were required to be used were not used the way they were required to be used. They were required
to be used.
Yes, so it was not a bad thing that we were going to use the ICT systems. What went wrong is that people decided not to use them the way they were supposed to be used.
So once again, people failed machines.
Yes, yeah, it's the people who failed
the machines. Okay, finally, before I let you go, as a systems analyst, what recommendations would you give the IEBC right now as far as the technological aspect is concerned in this election?
Yeah, I think they have a very simple duty and role to do. Listen to both the parties, and please open up and be transparent. That's all that the parties are asking for. If the KIEMS kits are going to be used, can you open them up to audit? And it will be something simple. We just want to see, can this kit transmit results? Can it take the photo? Can it transmit it? Can it transmit it with the GPS location? On the other hand, whatever may have been stored in that server, the logs and everything else, can you open it up, let whoever wants to look at them, and clean that up so that we start from ground zero. Those, if you asked me, are tasks that should not take more than 2 weeks to complete. And I do not know the fuss about just letting that happen. And that should not delay our elections.
Yes. And should the reconfiguring of the KIEMS kits delay the elections like they're asking for a week? How long does it take? Quickly, how long does it take to reconfigure?
It cannot. If it was done well, it is, I would put it like you have your brother or your sister gives you a phone, and now you want to reset it for your own use. So you either set it back to factory settings or delete the contacts and the messages from the phone. It's as simple as that. Select, press a delete button, wipe. That is all that is needed to be done. But it needs to be done by the right person. That is what that's the grudge or the bone of contention, that the NASA is bringing forth.
Hannington, thank you very much for joining us here on KTN Newsdesk. Hannington Mambo, apologies, I called you Hannington Mbaya when we were beginning. Hannington Mambo is a systems analyst from Mambo Softwares as we try to understand the ICT aspect of our election systems. 28 days to go, and some of them are still under fire, especially from the political class, on how the whole IT aspect was handled in the bungled August 8th elections. Now,